Everybody. Well, while it's safe to say that most people assume that breast milk is just for babies, new research is showing that it might actually be helpful for other things, including developing new therapies to treat diseases.
Fascinating, right? Here to tell us more about her groundbreaking research on breast milk is Professor of Pediatrics and Child Health at the University of Manitoba, Meghan Azad. Welcome to the show. Okay, Meghan, congratulations, because you're in town receiving the Gardner did I say that right?
Yes.
Gardner Momentum Award. So it's the Canada's premier prize in biomedicine and global health. That's huge.
Wow. Congratulations.
So tell us a bit about this award and what it means to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's hugely exciting. Of course, for me, for my team, I do all my research with other people. It's a decade of work being recognized with this award. But also, I think for the bigger field of breastfeeding and breast milk research. The truth is, until recently, it was hard to get funding for this kind of research because it wasn't viewed as important or high priority. So an award of this magnitude, I think, really puts it in the spotlight and shows how important it is.
That's really, really great. You've done some incredible research on the benefits of breast milk, but before we jump into that, we want to acknowledge that breastfeeding, it's not always possible for every person, and it might not even be the right choice for everybody, right?
Absolutely. So we're talking general recommendation. It's a good thing to do, but we know it might not work for every individual family. We also know that just adding more stress or shame on top of that pressure is not going to be helpful. So we got to keep the bigger picture in mind. I think ultimately what's important is that every family has accurate information, and then they make the choice that works for them, and then they get the support to achieve that choice. And we know in Canada that over 90% of moms do start breastfeeding, but most of them stop before they're ready because they have different issues that they don't get the support they need. So I think that's the key.
Yeah, keep talking about support. Yeah. And let's talk about what we do know about breast milk. What are some of the proven benefits scientifically for babies?
So many. So firstly, breastfed babies are protected from infections, and that's because babies are born with a very immature immune system. So they don't make all the antibodies they need to fend off infections, but they get it from breast milk. And so that could include ear infections, gut infections. The gut infections are really important in parts of the world where diarrhea is still a major cause of infant mortality. So this is something that breastfeeding can help tackle. And then babies also have a lower risk of asthma, obesity later in life. Premature babies are a really important group. These tiny premature babies really need breast milk. It's super important for them, and that's why if their own mom can't produce breast milk, they're actually first in line to get donor breast milk from a milk bank. So all sorts of benefits, but again, we're talking on average, so this doesn't mean a breastfed baby can't still get sick. I'm a breastfed baby who got asthma, and it doesn't mean a formula-fed baby can't grow up healthy, but we're talking on average.
On average. Let's talk about the research that you've recently published about the connection between breast milk and asthma specifically. What were your findings?
Yeah, so before this research, we already knew that breastfed babies have a lower risk of asthma, and we also knew that breast milk is really important for the microbiome. So this is all the bacteria, the good bacteria that live in our bodies. But we didn't know if those two things were connected. So in this new research, in over 2,000 babies from Canada, we connected those dots. And we saw that there were some bacteria in the baby's noses and in their intestines that were supported by breast milk and also linked to prevention of asthma. Wow. And we also found that timing was really important. So it wasn't just that the babies needed the right bacteria, they needed those bacteria to arrive in the right time at the right order. And breast milk is what drives that timing and order.
Wow, neat.
Okay, so what does the research say about other conditions like obesity and diabetes?
Right, so breastfed babies also have a lower rate of obesity later in childhood. We know lots of things contribute to obesity, but breastfeeding does seem to play a part. We're still learning about why, but one thing is that breastfed babies learn self-regulation, so they stop eating when they're full. Whereas if you're feeding from a bottle, whether it's breast milk or formula, often the intention is finish this bottle, right? So the babies don't really learn to stop eating when they're full. And we think this continues on later in life. And it also could be part of the components in breast milk. So I mentioned that breast milk is important for feeding good bacteria. Those same bacteria help us digest food, and they play a role in weight gain. So all of these could be reasons why breastfeeding can help prevent against obesity.
And diabetes?
Diabetes too, and this relates to the mom as well. So both breastfed babies and moms who breastfeed have a lower risk of diabetes later in life.
And that was our next question, because it's not now just about breast milk being beneficial for babies. You're now looking into breast milk being potentially part of new therapies to treat disease.
Exactly. So, I mean, breast milk is this superfood, personalized medicine, right? And so there's probably a lot we could learn from it. Of course, babies should be #1 in line for breast milk, but we think we can learn from breast milk to develop treatments or preventive therapies for other diseases. So an example would be Crohn's disease. This is a disease of the gut bacteria. And so we're trying to learn if we could take components of breast milk and develop them into ways of making the gut microbiome healthier, even for adults. And that could be a way of treating Crohn's. There's other examples, so osteoporosis is one. So this is a condition of weak bones. Unfortunately, we all peak with our bone mineral density in our 20s, and then it just naturally declines from there. And if it goes too far, we end up osteoporosis, weak bones. But breastfeeding is the one example of a time in adult life where adults actually rebuild their bone density. So when a mom's breastfeeding, some of the minerals from her bones actually get redirected into breast milk, but then she will rebuild that bone density later on. So like if we can understand how that works, then maybe we can develop new treatments for osteoporosis. So like all kinds of things outside of infancy.
Wow.
Just fascinating work. Meghan, congrats on your well-deserved award and for sharing this with us today. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Hey, you, come a bit closer. We've got so many more must-see interviews, spicy debates, lifestyle tips, and pop culture moments. So subscribe to our channel by tapping the logo below and don't miss out.